Bitcoin work, they'll usually say the same things. Proof of work, decentralization, the 21 million supply cap, the halving schedule. And they're not wrong, but there's one feature buried inside Bitcoin that almost nobody talks about. And without it, the whole system would be unstable. That feature is called the difficulty adjustment. And honestly, it might be one of the most elegant ideas in the entire Bitcoin protocol. Bitcoin is supposed to produce a new block roughly every 10 minutes. That's the heartbeat of the network. Every 10 minutes, a new block gets added. New transactions get confirmed. New Bitcoin gets issued. The system moves forward. But here's the problem. Bitcoin doesn't control how many miners are on the network. Some days more miners join. Some days miners leave. Sometimes new hardware comes along. Sometimes electricity prices spike. Sometimes governments ban mining. Sometimes the Bitcoin price crashes and miners shut off. So how do we keep block production steady when the number of miners is constantly changing? That's where the difficulty adjustment comes in. Every 2016 blocks, which is about every 2 weeks, Bitcoin checks in with itself. It asks one simple question. Were the last 2016 blocks mined too fast or too slow? That's it. If blocks come in faster than 10 minutes on average, that means there was too much mining power chasing blocks. So Bitcoin makes mining harder. If blocks came in slower than 10 minutes on average, that means mining power dropped. So Bitcoin makes mining easier. No committee, no CEO, no emergency meeting, no human judgment, just a simple feedback loop. Blocks too fast, increase difficulty. Blocks too slow, decrease difficulty. And the system returns toward equilibrium. The genius of this mechanism is that it protects Bitcoin's monetary schedule. Imagine if Bitcoin did not adjust difficulty. If miners got faster hardware, blocks would come faster. If millions of new mining machines joined the network, blocks would come faster. Bitcoin issuance would speed up. The supply schedule would break. The 21 million cap might still exist in theory, but the timeline would be unstable. Bitcoin would not have a reliable heartbeat. The difficulty adjustment fixes that. It makes hardware improvements almost irrelevant to Bitcoin's issuance schedule. Miners can build better machines, they can find cheaper energy, they can add more hash power, but Bitcoin simply says, great, then the puzzle gets harder. This is how Bitcoin neutralizes Moore's law. As mining technology improves, Bitcoin adapts. The easiest way to understand difficulty adjustment is to think of a thermostat. A thermostat doesn't know why the room got hot. Maybe the sun came out, maybe someone turned on the oven, maybe there are more people in the room. It doesn't matter. The thermostat just measures the temperature and adjusts. Bitcoin does the same thing. It doesn't care why hash power increased or decreased. It doesn't care whether miners are in Texas, Kazakhstan, Canada, or North Dakota. It doesn't care whether the change came from new ASICs, cheap hydro, solar oversupply, price crashes, or government bans. It just looks at block times. Too fast, make it harder. Too slow, make it easier. That's the entire control system. This is why Bitcoin can absorb enormous shocks. When China cracked down on mining, a massive amount of hash power disappeared from the network. In a normal system, that kind of shock could be catastrophic, but Bitcoin did what it always does. Blocks slowed down temporarily, then the difficulty adjusted downward, mining became easier, the remaining miners became more profitable. Eventually, hash power migrated and recovered. The network kept going. This is one of the most underappreciated things about Bitcoin. It doesn't require stability in the outside world. It assumes instability. It assumes miners will come and go. It assumes energy prices will change. It assumes government will intervene. It assumes hardware will improve. It assumes incentives will shift. And then it adjusts. The difficulty adjustment also shapes the economics of who mines Bitcoin. Over time, miners are pushed towards the cheapest energy available. That often means stranded energy, wasted energy, or energy that is hard to monetize otherwise. Natural gas that would be flared, hydropower in remote regions, midday solar oversupply, electricity that exists in the wrong place at the wrong time. Bitcoin miners are unusual energy customers. They're not like hospitals, they're not like factories, they're not like data centers that need perfect uptime. Miners can turn off. That makes them flexible. If the grid is stressed, miners can shut down. If prices spike, they can power off. If mining becomes unprofitable, they leave. And Bitcoin adjusts. That's why mining behaves less like a traditional industry and more like a global energy arbitrage machine. Miners search for cheap energy. Difficulty absorbs the changes. The network keeps its rhythm. Most systems become fragile when participants change behavior. Bitcoin was designed for participants to change behavior constantly. More miners join, difficulty rises. Miners leave, difficulty falls. Hardware gets better, difficulty rises. Energy gets expensive, some miners shut off, and difficulty eventually falls. The system doesn't panic, it recalibrates every 2016 blocks. That's the quiet magic of Bitcoin. Not hype, not price, not speculation, just a tiny control loop that keeps a global monetary network stable without asking anyone for permission. So yes, proof of work matters. Decentralization matters. The 21 million cap matters. The halving schedule matters. But the difficulty adjustment is the invisible flywheel. It's what keeps Bitcoin's heartbeat steady through booms, crashes, bans, migrations, hardware revolutions, and energy shocks. Every 10 minutes, another block. Every 2 weeks, a correction. A tiny feedback loop buried deep in the protocol is one of the biggest reasons Bitcoin survives chaos.